Hello. In this demonstration, we're going to show you how address management works in CloudSense. So let's start the demonstration. There are three ways we can manage addresses. We can manage them within the sales process, we can manage them within the opportunity, or we can manage them against the account, which is where we are going to start. This is the more traditional way, where you load them before your sales process. You are not limited to initiating the sales process after completing the loading. For example, if you load some addresses but others are missing, the sales user can still start the solution selling process. So let's take a look at our account, which is OzInsure. And if we have a look at the address management page, we can see that there are no addresses yet assigned to this account. So let's add an address manually. And you can see that it has not been validated yet. That's something we'll do a little bit later. The second way of getting addresses in is by importing them. So if a customer has supplied us with a CSV file full of addresses, we can load that file up to the account through CloudSense. Now we have 10 addresses loaded against our account, none of which have been validated. Before we validate them, let's have a quick look at the other things we can do. We can search and filter. For example, if we just want to search Queensland or New South Wales addresses, we can. And we can build conditional filter logic across multiple parameters. Okay, so let's validate our imported addresses. And CloudSense is using Google Maps right now out of the box. If you're using another address validation system, it is easily extensible to support them as well. So now you can see that all the addresses have been validated, except Dossiter Street in Levendale. If you know that this address is in fact valid, despite showing up as invalid, you can do a validation override, which makes the address available in our sales process. So it was very quick and easy to pull the addresses and get them validated. Next step is to configure a domestic connectivity solution for OzInsure. Here is an opportunity that has already been created, and you can see that the same address management functionality is embedded into the opportunity page. You'll also see that it is empty, rather than displaying the 10 addresses from before. This is because we could require an entirely different set of addresses to the existing 10 we uploaded earlier. So let's imagine that this is the case and go through the process again. Import from CSV file, and pick addresses 2, giving us 4 addresses in total. CloudSense immediately detects that one of the addresses has already been added to the account, the one we added manually at the beginning, and has been validated. Also, if we go back into our account and refresh the page, we now see 13 addresses. So let's go back to our opportunity and look at another feature in this section, Inheritance, which allows you to pull addresses straight from the account. So if we select all and click Add Addresses, then the opportunity will have 13 addresses, just like the account, 3 of which need validation. And we can simply select those 3 and validate them in bulk, giving us 13 valid addresses against our opportunity. Now let's move on to solution selling. Let's use a pre-existing basket where we're going to add our domestic connectivity solution. So we select domestic connectivity and go into the configuration. Just add the contract term. Now we can go into address management again, and you'll notice that the interface is very similar to previous ones. So let's import the 13 addresses we already uploaded and add them to the solution. Now, let's say during this process, the customer comes to us and says, actually, there are a few more sites to consider. In this case, we can do the same import process again, this time bringing in 5 additional addresses. So now we have a total of 18, and the new ones need to be validated. So once more, we go through the validation process. Now all 18 addresses have been validated, except for Tanner Street. Due to this problem, the customer has asked us to remove that address from the list for this particular solution. So now we have our 17 valid addresses, we can select individual addresses to manage our serviceability check. This is where the filtering that we looked at earlier comes into play. So let's say you just want to filter Queensland addresses because you want a 10 megabyte access component on those addresses, while you want a 50 megabyte access component for addresses in New South Wales. You can do that using the filter functionality. Here's how it works. We go and select our state/province and input Queensland. Add that logic and apply it to our addresses. There are 3 Queensland addresses. We select those 3 and can now do a serviceability check where we choose a 10 megabyte access component for all 3 of those addresses. And that has created our 10 megabyte access component within the solution with our 3 addresses. Right now it is showing as invalid, so let's add our router model, Cisco 1109, and that configuration now shows as valid. Now, if we go back into address management, we will now filter to all other addresses that are not in Queensland. We can select all, do serviceability check, and this time we choose a 100 meg access component, apply it to all those addresses and add it to our solution. And that shows us how easily you can manage your addresses, split them, filter them, and apply the relevant configurations throughout the selling process. We've seen how they can be managed at the account level, the opportunity level, and the selling level. Well, we have seen how the selling flow doesn't have to stop if those addresses don't already exist in the system. We can simply add more, import more, or get more from the customer and make edits. So that is a high-level overview of the address management capability within CloudSense Telco One.